From the southernmost point of Dorne to the lands of always winter, what is west of Westeros, and the shadows in the east, and the shadows in Mordor, and all the places in Willowtown, which is the official name I just made up right now. This is Casterly Talk. I'm Ken Napzok, back after a week off, and we got to look at some news. This is kind of a new format we're playing around with, a shorter, straightforward show. We're going to have long-form discussions, the reviews, the rewatches, all those things we keep telling you about. It's just a bit of a time right now where Alden and I are handling 15 other things, so we want to get straight to it here. Alden Diaz is with me to talk some news, big news, Critics' Choice Awards. We're going to have some fun pitching ideas and also celebrating Hot Pie. Alden, welcome back, and how are you?
I'm doing very well. Very excited to be able to talk about Lord of the Rings and all of these worlds that we love. Big news day. Hollywood's gonna Hollywood, and we have thoughts because we to spend money on these things.
We do, and I'm still gonna do that. All right, I can't apologize for that, which is part of my reaction to the first story. We were gonna do a show regardless day. We had to take a week off last week, so apologize for those who were waiting for it. But we were gonna do the news anyways. I like the Critics' Choice Super Awards stuff. It's kind of fun to celebrate these shows: House of Dragon, Rings of Power, all that kind of stuff. Yes, but then scrolling along Twitter, the news emerges. I read it first here in the Hollywood Reporter. I don't know. I apologize if that wasn't their exclusive, but I'm reading the article from Aaron Couch and Boris Kidd. The headline just reads, new Lord of the Rings movies in the works at Warner's and New Line. The studios have struck a multi-year pact with the Swedish gaming company Embracer Group, which we had kind of heard about before, them taking over the rights. And yes, they hold the rights to the film side of things. We'll get into the Tolkien rights lore of it all as well, as we always would talk about when we're breaking down Rings of Power. But Alden, first and foremost, as we get straight to the story here, I do want to know your gut reaction. Were you scrolling along, or you're just sitting there in your jams at home and you see this story pop up? What's it feel like right there in the gut? Where do you go with that?
In a word, it felt good. I felt good, and I think the decision was good, because this is like new landlord takes over and is like, we're not going to raise your rent. We're not going to change much, because it's news, but it's non-news. It's a new deal was struck with the new rights holders, but it's still New Line. It's still, therefore, possibly Wingnut, Peter's company, which we'll talk about Peter, and then also Warner. So this has been its home since Fellowship, and this, for it to continue to be the home even with new ownership, is nice. Not that Warner is immune to questionable decision making, as we've seen with HBO Max and some other things as of late, but this has been one of their things, and it would be strange for it to. It'd be strange if the Jackson stuff existed at Warner, the other stuff existed at Amazon, and then there was a third place too.
That's actually a great point to start. Yeah, we're looking at you, CEO David Zaslav of HBO or Warner Brothers or whatever the heck you are. Yeah, I get some thoughts on him. But you know what? At the same time, this is a good deal. It makes sense for the company, and I like what you're saying about the wallpaper might still be the same. Maybe the address changes. We put in some new curtains, but it still might be something we're familiar with, which I think is key. I go to my gut reaction of this story was, yeah, this makes sense and fun. I'm someone who is a fan of Rings of Power. I know that's not shared with everyone here, but I know you are. Rachel Cushing is as well. But even then, was that big question mark hung over it? Was hanging over of Bezos, like Amazon? Like it was a new tenant. I love your example. It was a new tenant in the building. We weren't sure what they're going to do with it. We ended up liking it. I know not everyone did, from casual fans to Tolkien lore heads. I totally get that. Totally respect that. But going back to this, knowing that, hey, New Line, and then I'll just read this quote here. Peter Jackson, of course, along with Fran Walsh and Philippa Bowens, behind all the magic of the first three movies, which we should point out, not everyone loved those movies, because you might be Tolkien lore heads who are like, where's Tom Bombadil? But hey, that aside, said this: Warner Brothers and Embracer have kept us in the loop every step of the way. We look forward to speaking with them further to hear their vision for the franchise moving forward. It should be noted, as they do in this article, Amazon, Peter Jackson said, had previously asked him to be involved in the Lord of the Rings TV show, but then, according to him, did not follow up. So just giving the complete picture there. Let's go to that. What do you think about Jackson and team on that comment?
I think it's an interesting thing to note that they spoke to them at all. Not that I don't think that they should or shouldn't. Like, I think it makes a lot of sense creatively, right? If you're a young director and you're taking over, say, a movie, a Gandalf movie, let's just say, if you can call him, you're gonna. That makes a ton of sense. I mean, he's the guy. But it's interesting that on the announcement of the deal, that a statement was released from Peter, Fran, and Philippa, because they yeah, like you said, like since the Hobbit, they've been retired from the Rings game. He went and he did his World War One doc. He did Get Back, and so it's like I almost wonder: is this the beginning of the Peter Jackson, Fran, and Philippa as like the Kevin Feige's of Rings, which I think would be a really smart move, or the James Gunn in this situation because he's got DC now.
Yeah.
Would it be like, hey, we want to run all these things by you and maybe make them canon to your 6 films?
That's a great way to look at it. We're going to talk about maybe the potential connection or lack thereof to the films in a second here with some quotes from Zavla. I don't even know if I'm saying his name right, but frankly, some of the stuff I heard about him, I don't care. Yeah, I'd thought about that. The Feige position is there's been others before him and there will be others after him, but he becomes synonymous with this person over the creative of a particular franchise, and it works clearly. It's a bit of a moneymaker. So I like that idea. Also, just, it's naturally, even when the series got announced, you naturally think, oh, are they involved in any way? This Fran, Philippa, and Peter triumvirate here. Because it just makes sense what they did with the movies. Even The Hobbit, that we talked a little bit about the Guillermo del Toro of it all. Hey, maybe here's a chance for him to come back and do something. But them get involved. And them kind of, hey, it's in our rearview mirror. To your point, I like that, and I like I like what I like about the quote of coming out so fast. To your point, is hey, maybe this is their Harrison returns for Han Solo, Blade Runner 249, 2049, in Blade Runner, or excuse me, Indiana Jones 5, where it's like you never thought he was going to do that, but they were like, hey, time has passed, and I'd like to revisit it. Not saying Jackson necessarily has to get behind the director's chair, but the fact that they maybe after all these years go, hey, yeah, maybe we want to explore some more things. That's a total speculation on my part. And I'm rambling because I'm kind of excited about them even doffing their cap to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And even the quotes that they had just in the article before the Jackson camp commented, they were talking about, the business side of it with the Amazon and the rights and everything. But the Pamela Abdi and Michael DeLuca, two of the Warner bosses, said 20 years ago, New Line took an unprecedented leap of faith to realize the incredible stories, characters, and the world of the Lord of the Rings on the big screen. The result was a landmark series of films that have been embraced by generations. And they went on to just sort of praise what was going on and get really hyped about what's going to happen. It's an interesting moment to see this sort of, and Rings of Power was our first sort of, dive into this pool of what is its life beyond The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, 2 core stories. What else could there really be? And I think Rings of Power was a success, as you do, and we really loved that show, and we had a great time talking about it, and we'll talk about it more. But in terms of this adaptation, this universe, if it is indeed we're going to build out from Jackson's, that those 6 will always, if they're going to Star Wars it, these 6 will always be the thing, and then everything else is like, if they cast a Strider, that's Vigo's Strider, younger. It's interesting to see. It makes a lot of sense, and it's surreal and weird. I will say, just on the nerd, on the internet side of it, I was immediately frustrated at the very obvious people don't read articles, because the headlines are new Lord of the Rings films with a picture of Elijah Wood, and people immediately like, why are you remaking the greatest trilogy? I don't think they have any. They're not that frankly dumb. They're not going to do that. These will be new things, I feel like.
No. And yeah, you great quote from the 20 years ago. We have right above this here in the article here, again, by Aaron Couch, Boris Kitt, Hollywood Reporter. We understand how cherished those works are, and working together with our partners at New Line Cinema and Warner Brother Pictures, we plan to honor the past, look to the future, and adhere to the strongest level of quality and production values. That's a very corporate-y statement, but it's a nice, well-worded one. Those statements work for a reason sometimes, where I think this honors a lot of different things. I'm excited about the potential. We'll get into some fun pitches a little bit later in the show, but I'm excited about, there's so much room on the Lord of the Rings map, which is one of the things I did love about Rings of Power. And I know there was this timeline crunch, and it's a different take on it, and take all that and put it elsewhere. But I as someone who was a very passionate, yet at times casual Lord of the Rings fans, meaning the trilogy changed a lot in me, and I love those films. I've come to appreciate the Hobbit films a little bit more than I did when they first came out, especially knowing a little bit more behind the scenes story. I look at that world, I'm like, why why am I not pulled in as much? Meaning, like,
Yeah.
someone pull me in, not Tolkien lore heads or just the books themselves. I mean, it's such a wonderful world that Tolkien created, without a doubt. It's worked for so long for a reason. But yet, take me to different spots, take me to different times, and take me to some of these younger names, these names when they're younger, or maybe, who knows, names when they're older, which is a possibility, I guess you could say, as well. So, anyways, that's where mine goes. My mind goes. It's exciting. Why not? We're in the franchise games. That's not going away anytime soon for any of these companies, especially with investors, kind of in a way calling the shots at times, for better or worse. This to me could be better.
Yeah, and you brought up the Harrison Ford of it all. Like, is there a world where Viggo Mortensen, now with some gray in his hair, plays King Elisar? Like, I don't know. I don't know who would be on board for that. Orlando Bloom has not aged a day. He already returned once. Like, is there a world where they do that creatively? I'm not sure what the move would be, but they're tempted. I mean, this is the time where the Super Bowl was just lit up by Michael Keaton in a bat suit, and that was people were saying, and rightfully so, it's the summer of '89 again. It was Harrison and Michael Keaton dominating the televisions and trailers.
And there's I love that you bring that up, because there's a surface way and an occasionally, more than occasionally, cynical way to look at that is sometimes we're stuck in the past, nostalgia goggles, and that's very real. That's a very real thing. But I think when I see stuff like that, it's a big why not for me. You're not just simply retreading the past. Again, sometimes that is the case in some things, but you have a world to tell these stories. So Keaton as Batman now, no matter what they got planned, I don't care. But just even that idea has always been exciting to me. Of like, oh, cool. Him at this age, what stories could you tell? What stories could you tell with Han when he comes back at this age? I like that tip of the iceberg storytelling potential. And now, of course, in Indy 5 as well, something I'm very excited for. It's because it's a different time than I think even Indy 4, which obviously clearly has its detractors, but is sometimes I think unfairly maligned. Some of it is, I should say, but different conversation. But that was a different time too. That to me reeked more of even Spielberg kind of saying, I don't know, I thought we were done, but we're doing it again. It's a different vibe now than it was then. So this works for me around this time in the industry of like, let's keep exploring this. Let's find out what we can do with Aragorn at a different time. Let's find out what we can do with Gimli or Legolas going off on their adventures. Let's do it. Why not? Let's do it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The age of why not is now. I mean, this is people that grew up on Peter Jackson's first trilogy, and even the second trilogy, even The Hobbit. Like, I was in high school when those were coming out, and it's been, they were. You were at heart. You were definitely at heart. Watching it in 48 frames, with getting your mind blown by why it looked weird. But like, people now have become filmmakers, have become creatives, have become writers, have become set decorators and prop builders and everything. Like, I think that, there is a cynical side of it, but there's also some kid out there in New Zealand that found out that it was possible that the 3 of the biggest movies ever made were made in their home country. And now there's going to start ramping up again. And with, Peter releasing a statement, Rings of Power left New Zealand and is now in England, tax reasons, COVID reasons, etc. Is this going to be the big moment for a new generation of Lord of the Rings filmmakers to step up? And they're going to maybe want to see something that they grew up with on screen. And yeah, there's the business side of that, but I don't think that that's inherently wrong creatively either.
Yeah, look, it could be, but I always say, but they haven't done anything yet. Wait and find out, and then judge. Engage with what's there. Even recently, Liam Neeson, God bless him, I love him.
Yeah,
happy to have him back as Qui-Gon. It was a sincere, but I even think offhanded comment on a wild, crazy kind of talk show setting with Andy Cohen's show of Disney diluting the magic. I understand why some people might say that, but that just shows me you haven't watched or engaged with it and looked in, because there's great power in taking something again like Star Wars. It's not going away. We got these rights. Companies do need to make money, for better or worse. Let's explore these stories. Let's find out, and then let's make the table even longer to go back to Lord of the Rings and bring in new perspectives and new people to go back to that. You talking about New Zealand, but who else was affected by those movies in 2000? 2001, 2, and 3? Who was affected by The Hobbit? Who was affected by the works of Tolkien? Who haven't had a chance to that story? And then if someone like Jackson and his team helping shepherd new storytellers in, I think that could only help and create interesting and diverse, powerful stories, different perspectives, different angles to look at the world. I'm excited by that potential. And if they fumble it, they fumble it. But don't judge it until they're on the field and they've ran the play.
Absolutely. And the other thing is that things can be both. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania comes out, and there's all, it's just here to set up the new phase. It's just a trailer for what's to come. And it's like, you know what? Yeah, sure. It is the beginning of phase 5. It is setting things up. But maybe, call me crazy, there's a father and a daughter watching that film that I've never seen a dad and his daughter team up together in a big sci-fi pulpy spectacle like that. And maybe they were really touched by some of the relationship stuff in that story. It can be both. We can have the corporation's going to corp conversation, but that does not take away from the creative side of it. Like, you've said this before on Force Center with Joseph and Jennifer. George Lucas had not found a nonprofit, and guess what? Neither did J.R.R. Tolkien. The second that he decided to sell those manuscripts to a publisher, there's an estate for a reason. That's we don't need to lift our. Sometimes it feels like people want to like gotcha these things, like, oh, Peter, like are you selling out to Zaslav? And it's like, all right, I know you sent that tweet while you were at Jeff Bezos' Whole Foods, but like, let's calm down. We generally do still respond to stories as a people. So being cosmically conscious is a good thing, and we want that, and we want our stories to be political, because in a sense of not surface level American politics, but political, meaning that's how we come together to decide how to take care of the least of us. And these stories should tell tales about that. The adventure should have those kind of themes and lessons in them. And I think a lot of potential there, but it's always easy to be cynical. And this isn't, you and I are here in this YouTube channel, and every once in a while we'll get that comment of, I don't know what show you were watching. Well, we were watching the same show. We paid attention. You didn't. Tough luck. Kick rock. That's what it is. And Lord of the Rings in particular, and Willow, but like Rings of Power, like those 8 episodes were joyous. I felt glowy. I felt like I felt like it was like autumnal. Like I felt really warm. And I think that this is the franchise going back to, the opening of Elijah Wood sitting under the tree, and the way that music kicks in. I think that this is the least, probably next to Star Wars, like the least cynical by far of everything that we have. And I think that we need Tolkien right now. What you just said, like how many kids learned about, in an accessible way about overcoming prejudices through the dwarves and elves. Like that happened. So I think it's valuable.
Yeah, and again, fully saying, you all have the right to not like anything or not want to see anything more, but let's see what they can do, and it's exciting, and more to come. This is just a surface level scratch of the conversation, because quite frankly, that's all we know. That's all we know. Eventually, we're going to get Rachel Cushing's going to come on here, and I want to hear her thoughts on what this world could be, what other stories could be. We're going to have some fun with that here in a bit, but I just think it's a wild, wonderful world. This Lord of the Rings world. Let's explore it more. It's going to be a lot of fun. So more on that in a second, but all we do want to talk about the other news story of the day. It's a fun one here. I don't put, and this is being, I'll cop to it. I'm cynical about awards. I don't give a damn about awards too much, but at the same time, I do like them. I do like them, just because everyone works so hard on all these things, and to be recognized is not a bad thing, right? You can be humble to a point of pain, and so accept thanks when given to you. And thanks has been potentially given to House of the Dragon and Lord of the Rings of Power, the Critics' Choice Super Awards. And the Critics' Choice just had their other awards, their main awards. Now they got the Critics' Choice Super Awards, which honors the best in genre, film, and TV. Wonderful. We know, you and I know some people who were voting for this stuff. They get a wonderful night out. What did you say, Alden, off air, what these events are really about?
Oh yeah, they're about eating dinner and taking selfies.
Eating dinner and taking selfies.
Really what it is. Which, you know what? Cool. We've all done it.
A lot of pain in the world. Take a selfie and have a Critics' Choice dinner. Ain't no problem for me on that one there. But all that to say, House of the Dragon nabbed these nominations. Best Science Fiction / Fantasy Series. Best Actor in a Science Fiction Fantasy Series. Matt Smith as Daemon Targaryen. Best Actress in a Science Fiction Fantasy Series. Millie Alcock as young Rhaenyra Targaryen. And Best Villain in a Series. Matt Smith as Daemon Targaryen. Rings of Power also got some nominations as well. I apologize if I missed some, but I think they got as well. This one list is hard to a lot on here. They got the Science Fiction Fantasy Series as well. And then Best Actress in Sci-Fi and Fantasy Series, Morfydd Clark, Lords of the Rings of Power, for her work with as Galadriel there as well. And I just saw, hey, Moses Ingram, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Fiona Shaw Andor. We have some podcasts we can talk about that as well. Yeah. What are those awards nominations mean to you, and what do you take from them?
I am with you in the awards don't matter, but also sometimes they do camp, that weird middle. And what I was on an Oscar podcast the other day talking about Tar with Cate Blanchett and the other Galadriel, and we were talking about how, like, what do the Oscars mean, and how every year when a category doesn't go your way, you yell at the TV and say, "I'm not watching again," or that hosting was bad, I'm not watching, or that guy hit that guy, I'm not watching, whatever it is. And it's like, but you come back. And what I realized is we don't care about awards, we care about stories, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I acknowledge that the Best Supporting Actor award doesn't really mean anything, but if Ke Huy Quan does indeed win this year, then that means something. And I think that that's what it is. So if it's going to be, let's say it's Millie Alcock, right? That Critics' Choice Super Award is nothing. That's a paperweight. But this young actress, imbuing the foundation of this character for this epic story and getting the torch really from Emilia Clarke and sort of being the one that then handed it off to Emma Darcy for their version, like, that means something. A career-making moment means something. So I'm in it for the people, and we know Emilia Alcock knows how to hang at award shows. So good for her. I hope she enjoys the bar. I'm down for everybody, Rings and House of the Dragon. I think that I like seeing cool artists be cool artists. So that's what it is. That's why you watch, I think,
Yeah, no, it's there's I think you and I have now 10 times today already seen, hey, you could be cynical, but guess what? You could in life and in genre discussions. You could be cynical because there's the campaigns, the money behind it. There's a lot of, it is all that. Shakespeare in Love taught the world a lot of things about how films win Oscars. Totally. But also there's so many wonderful people that work on these. And sometimes it just does come down to one name getting nominated. It's almost not fair on a production, but it means everything. These two shows, the amount of effort that went into them, the fans that they inspired, I think it's fun. And also it's weird to think George R.R. Martin's kind of right. Remember, he said, I want both our shows to be nominated, just House of Dragons have a little bit more. So, hey, that's coming true right now.
Yep. Yeah. He's got to enjoy it because he gets another night out and he gets to be the only other celebrity author besides Stephen King. It feels like there used to be another one, but I feel like we don't know so much talk about that one. And it's
sometimes I worry that George is going to trip too, but yes.
No, George, just, finish the book and retire. That's all you need. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see sort of how it shakes out in general because part of this is also drumming up hype, right? Like, I think House of the Dragon season 2 is in production now. I think it just started. Olivia Cook was out the other night at the which awards was it? I can't remember. She was presenting with Diego Luna, and she's got her auburn hair back, looking like Allison, and so they're getting ready, and like, cool. This is also a tool for that. So it's like, keep it in your mind while we take the year to make more.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's all part of the machine, but sometimes the machine is just damn fun, and I love that there. So yeah, we'll keep you all updated out there on more awards. But now on Casterly Talk, we've got a fun little idea here. So, Alden, we got a potential some Lord of the Rings movies. I don't have a list in front of me, but where do you want to go? Some predictions, some wild speculation, some silly ideas, some ideas that could not happen. What are you thinking about when you think of this world of Lord of the Rings, the potential for more movies?
My first real thought was Aragorn stuff, but then I started to think, what are the things that are probably never going to happen, but would be fun
Mm.
to kick around in a room? And I started to think, give me Treebeard colon a sapling story. Like, give me really tiny little Treebeard back in the first age. He's like a twig, like Baby Groot style, and then he gets a little bit bigger. And what does he do? What does an Ent do? They walk. They take forever to have meetings and decisions. It would be really cute, and they would have next to no plot, and I would love every second of it.
Just a rumination. I like this.
Yes.
Maybe you call it those trees are my friends, and it's just him walking around in the forest. I'd love to see some conversations, just hanging out with the trees.
Yeah,
I could
just living life, and like, because they're tree herders, right? So like, how does a tree herd a tree? How does that work? What's going on there? What kind of how do you know what kind of wood you are? Do you decide your own beard length? Like, there's all these inside baseball questions that I want to know the answers to. And then the other one would be, thinking about like how just like unabashedly romantic Lord of the Rings is. We should lean all the way in and do something like Beren and Luthien, which is one of the big legends of the world, and just do that as like a James Cameron like 4-hour long romance movie, like the romance movie to end all romance movies. Make that Titanic money, make everyone cry. It would be amazing. Get Liv Tyler to narrate it or something, the way that they've got Miranda Otto narrating the Rohirrim movie that's coming out, which we forgot to mention is still coming out. That'll technically be the first film under the regime.
Yeah.
So that's exciting. The War of the Rohirrim comes out next year, directed by the guy who did the Ninth Jedi for Star Wars Visions. So
that's right. Oh, I'm glad you pulled that detail. Forgot about that. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. I love great. I was thinking, and a couple ideas come to mind here. I want it raises the question of who you cast in it, and Ian McKellen, Sir Ian McKellen. Sorry, he's still going strong, but can you have him? Can you de-age him and do younger Gandalf? I don't know. I'm going to leave that morality question to the gods here, so to speak. But there's so many that, again, I mentioned I'm a passionate, dedicated, at times casual Lord of the Rings fan, meaning I couldn't win a trivia question about Lord of the Rings. And I always say, when we talk about Rings of Power, I know my way around the map. I just can't always give directions. Where Star Wars, down to the nuts and bolts, I know. So because of that, inspired by that, and again, out of respect to Tolkien and the lore heads that might know everything, and I say that respectfully, I would like a movie that kind of goes into the shadows and explains some things and connects some dots. So like, oh, Saruman, when did he fall? What conversation did he have with Sauron? When did Grima Wormtongue start really locking in and influencing what was going on there up in Rohan? Like, give me some of that. Give me some of that. When Gandalf rides off, this time I want the camera to follow him. And again, would there be a lot of plot conflict? We're not worried about that because we're not the CEO of Warner Brothers, Alden. I just want to see. I want some of those answers. And again, are some of the answers out there in the books or the wikis or YouTube videos? Of course. But what fun is that? I want to go to the theater, grab a big bunch of popcorn, a soda. By the way, I finish all my treats before the trailers end because I don't like to be distracted during the movies. And then just go into that. Lord of the Rings, Into the Shadows.
I love that. That's a great idea. I think both of our Treebeard idea and the Gandalf idea, I think that the idea of just filling in everything that we didn't get to see, I say we take it all the way to the Shire as well and show me why there's a beef between the Bagginses and the Sackville Bagginses. Like I feel like there's a lost genre of family comedy that we don't make anymore, which is like two dads that hate each other. Like what's that movie with it's like Tim Allen and Jamie Lee Curtis and is it Christmas with the Cranks? Like
it
Christmas with the Cranks is one of them, or like
I paid attention to Tim Allen as I know you did. But yes,
that movie Envy with Jack Black, like where like just movies of like I hate that guy, and it's your neighbor. Like I hate that guy, and just do that with hobbits.
Can we? This totally works for me. This totally works for me. My one request. Can we cast Danny DeVito as one of the grumpy Hobbit neighbors?
Oh, Absolutely. And it would be a miracle because we would be like, look, Peter, you don't have to use doubles with this guy. And it would be incredible. It would be revolutionary for hobbits.
Didn't he have? He had. Is it Deck the Halls? I'm live. It's the Deck the Halls where he and Matthew Broderick were in a Christmas feud.
Yes, it is Deck the Halls. You're right. Exactly. Give me just low stakes neighborhood warfare.
It's a Shire family Christmas drama film, but almost like a sitcom on the big screen.
Yeah, food fights, dancing on tables, it turns into a brawl. It's perfect.
Yeah. Oh my God. What's Danny DeVito? If you follow him on Instagram and stuff, he's got the toe foot when he just puts his toe in a picture and says it's a character. You can bring him in there. He can speak. He can have a voice. The toe can have a voice.
Fantastic. We should all aspire to age.
The final one, absolutely. The final one I'm putting out there. It's almost a serious answer, but I do think you got the tale of Aragorn and Arwen, right? Which is a story in the appendices. And again, I don't know the rights. It's so confusing sometimes. You and I really studied up as best we could for Rings of Power, but this would be a little different. But if you could pull something like that out, I don't know. Yes, we do know maybe where the story goes. We know what happens. And a lot of times people will throw that. Do we even need the story? Yeah. You don't want the story? In Star Wars, I'm dying to get the story of Obi-Wan and Duchess Satine on the run with Qui-Gon turning his back. I want that story. Just I want to explore the characters. I want to explore the love. I want to explore the romance. I want to explore the stakes for them in those moments. So give me, and it doesn't have to be word for word what's going on in this story. Give me the tale of Aragorn and Arwen, and give me this Lord of the Rings sweeping romantic movie that you're talking about. I want to go there.
Absolutely. I think that there has the potential for great what's the phrase, the 4-quadrant, like it would get everybody and you get, whether it's Hugo Weaving or not, you have Elrond like, I'm gonna raise this handsome Dunedain lad, surely nothing will happen in my house while I'm doing that.
Here's the farmer's daughter, farm boy, as you wish, just don't do nothing. Yeah.
It's like, hey, Estelle, my gorgeous immortal daughter's coming back from her grandma's today. Figure you guys could have lunch. Nothing will happen, right?
Just show her around. All right, cool. I love that. There. Well, there you go. Well, that's some of our early pitches. The story is just developing, but there's a lot of room. So if you're out there watching and comments here on YouTube or out there on Twitter, let us know at Casterly Talk what some of your funny and maybe even serious thoughts and ideas are about this world expanding. Before we get out of here today, Alden, I do want to make sure we talk about Game of Thrones, the thing that is at the center of Casterly Talk and what brought this podcast into existence when it was Daily Thrones here on the same podcast feed. I figure from time to time on this kind of streamlined show, we're going to look a little closer. We're going to pay our respect. We're going to talk about characters we love, the big ones, the small ones. In fact, you're looking at doing that in a larger sense with some of the bigger characters. But let's focus on one of the best characters in Game of Thrones, Song of Ice and Fire, both the TV show and the books. Doesn't matter. We can celebrate the character regardless. Alden, I need your thoughts on one of my favorites, Hot Pie.
Hot Pie. When I think about this man, this young artisan, this entrepreneur, this creative spirit, I think he has an underrated arc, and specifically an underrated redemption arc. Remember when we first met Hot Pie? We did not like this kid.
I'll say it. He was a prick. He was a prick. He's a bully.
He sucked.
Yeah.
He was a bully. He bullied Arya. I forget what Arya's fake name was at the time. Was it just Ari? Ari, yeah. He bullied little Ari and was making her life hell on the road. And thankfully she had Gendry there to back her up. But this kid found what he was good at, and he shed that bully lair, and he threw himself into making things to make people happy and to provide joy and sustenance. And
provided some of the key information that sent Arya back home. Home. Change the course. If Hot Pie doesn't say, oh, you haven't heard what happened up there in Winter Hell, she goes down and tries to kill the queen, which could have changed the things. But if not, she doesn't go back and get the big W, the win over the Night King. A lot. It's, we do this in Star Wars a lot where, hey, if this hadn't happened, if this person didn't make this decision, nothing falls. If Wicket doesn't save Leia, maybe none of this happens. You know, I love that kind of stuff. It's fun. It's fun stuff. But Hot Pie, he absolutely saved the realm. He absolutely saved the realm. And this is why I love him.
Yeah, Hot Pie was like, you didn't see season 6, episode 9. Well, let me tell you, your brother, key character, yeah, he was paying attention to the story he was in. He did Westerosi reporting right there on the crossroads, and we have him to thank. I think that, but forget, people give Jaqen H'ghar all the credit. Oh, he gave Arya the skills, and he taught her her shapeshifting and all that. No, that was all second. Hot Pie and then Jaqen H'ghar for he was an agent of the Lord of Light to destroy the Night King.
He absolutely was. Ben Hockey is the performer who, if I'm not mistaken, went on, actor, but he also became a damn fine cook himself, if I remember reading some of the stories.
Yeah.
Lived the role, and I love that. I think he's wonderful. Now, you're right. There's a bit of a redemption arc. The way he's played, and it can be considered a little stereotypical, where you got the bully, and maybe he's considered overweight, and we have a tendency in society to poke them a little harder, and he rises above all that to be who he is. He doesn't, he's essentially sold off to the crossroad ends there, but he knows who he is, and I love characters that. I'm not going to go slay the dragon. That's not what I am. I'm here and I do what I do. And it's making soup and broth and bread. And through that, I help the big picture. And that's Hot Pie to me.
Hell yeah. I hope that Queen Sansa hired him for the coronation.
My God, I've never thought about that, Alden.
That's the move. That's the real ending.
That's the real ending. In this Jon Snow, Kit Harington produced and led spinoff show that we're still wondering about. Yeah. That's going to be revealed. Hot Pie becomes the official cook of Winterfell.
Yes, I love it. Canon. Book it, George.
Canon, right there. Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening to this episode of Casterly Talk. Had a lot of fun doing the show in this manner. Hope you did too. We always say other things are coming, but I like being honest as a broadcaster. Not only is it kind of an off season for some of these shows, and there's a lot to get to, and there's a lot of things we keep saying, hey, don't worry, we're working on. We are. It's start of the new year. It could be a little tough, a little rough. Also, a lot of things going on. And Alden and I every week talk about what we intend to do with this channel, what we are doing with this channel. We thank you for your support. We thank you for listening. If you have ideas, things you want to hear, and yes, I know the rewatch series is on the cusp of coming back. But it's really hard right now in my life to get a lot of this stuff done. So we're doing this kind of condensed version of the show as we work on other things. We hope you're along for the journey. So that's from me. Alden, you can sign off, tell them where to find your other stuff, or just tell them where to find you and give you a hug, because you might need that too.
You can find me at that Alden Diaz if you want to send me a hug GIF or GIF. And you can find me in person in London, Star Wars Celebration. Ken and I will both be there for a different fantasy. But I'm sure if we see you at the bar and you want to talk Thrones, we will absolutely oblige.
Absolutely. And I have had some people ask about Con of Thrones. I want to shout out our buddy Mark Kamier. I almost called him Mike. That would make me an asshole. No, Mark Kamier. Who let me know Con of Thrones is back and it's the unofficial convention. I would love to get to that. This year might not be it because, it turns out London, getting to London does cost a little bit. So we're working on that, but a lot of things coming here. So we'll see you soon. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching Casterly Talk.